This is the Commentary Box.
To me, tweeting was something that birds did.
Dilly din, dilly dong, come on!
Éder vai aguentar bem, encosta ele e falta apoio ali sobre o lado direito, sai remate e o gol!
From a yard out, he couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo.
And the celebrations begin.
Hello and welcome to the Commentary Box. What a 2 weeks of football we have had over the Easter period. We hope you've all had a brilliant Easter. Before we start, I would like to apologise for our kind of confusing Easter schedule. We were planning to do a few shows, but it just didn't turn out right because timings and busy doing revision. But hopefully we should be back on schedule now for a podcast every single Wednesday at 8 o'clock, of which, of course, you should find on our YouTube page. So, seeing that there's been so much football this weekend, we haven't kind of discussed individual topics today. We're going to be discussing kind of loads of different ones. So we'll be talking about the Premier League, how Manchester City are going to be lifting the Premier League title at next weekend against Swansea, and we'll also be talking about Europe in general with, of course, Roma defying all odds and being the gladiators that slayed Barcelona, and we'll also be talking a bit about Buffon and his actions while also having a look at the Europa League. So with no further ado, seeing that it's a busy episode, I'm going to pass you over to Jake, who I actually haven't said hello to yet. Hello, Jake.
Yes,
how are
I was
you?
going to say I am here. Okay, we're not. We are still here. So I thought I would just be a good idea to sort of go over the whole league and just sort of roughly have a look and just talk about sort of where we are. So obviously, as we stand, City have they've won the title. They're ahead by Manchester City. I'm just looking at some of the things, just winning 6 more games, losing 4 less. You know, it's really, really impressive. You know, lots of goals scored, and Pep Guardiola has done a really, really good job. So congratulations to them. Obviously, they had that sort of a mishap where they could have won the title in the Manchester derby against United. And I ended up watching this game. I was available to watch Sky for once, and I saw them go 2-0 up very early on in the first half, and I thought, oh, this seemed to be they're gonna win easily. Sterling had a couple of chances to make it 3, but couldn't, and it seemed like they were going to win the title very easily. And then out of nowhere, Pogba with a couple of goals, and then Smalling near the end scored, and it completely turned it around and really ruined the celebration, which would have been an ideal last final day. Really, it would have been really, really good for them, but that didn't happen in the end. United, they are sort of fighting for second now with Liverpool. Tottenham a little bit behind, still in the race though. Those 3 will be competing for that second place spot. United losing to Newcastle. Sorry, not Newcastle, West Brom.
And I saw a picture on Instagram of Sir Alex Ferguson yawning in the one. I guess he has a special seat up somewhere in in Old Trafford, and he was actually yawning, which kind of, I guess, described the game in general for any watchers of it. I didn't watch it personally, but I can imagine it was fairly boring. But it was amazing that West Brom did get a 1-0 victory, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a classic West Brom corner routine that got them the goal. Not really sure if it can inspire much confidence, as they are 9 points away from Swansea sitting in 17th. I think it's all over for them. They're just waiting for that to be cemented in. So we go back up to the top of the table. Liverpool doing well in 3rd as well, 1 point behind United. Salah scoring week in, week out. He's got his 30th goal in the league and 40th in all competitions, having a really, really awesome season. Tottenham in 4th place at the position. They are 7 points above Chelsea, so it looks like they are going to be in that 4th Champions League spot in pretty good form as well. Then we go down to 5th, Chelsea, who's not had, I wouldn't say they've had the best season.
No.
Really. I think they've been a bit disappointed. Conte's management could be over in the summer? What do you think, Sam?
Well, there is kind of speculation that he wanted to go back to Italy before he signed a pre-contract with Chelsea. I think he actually wanted to stay after Euro 2012, would it? Or 2004?
Something like that.
Yeah, well, and there's also been rumours of him potentially being the next AC Milan manager, but that's kind of quashed now as Gattuso has got a contract from AC Milan for the next 3 years. So we could actually see Conte stay at Chelsea next year. And I hope he does personally, because I think he's still got a lot to prove as a manager there at Chelsea. Because I know he won the title last season, but he's done okay this season. I think we want to see more from him and more from the Chelsea team because they were so brilliant last year. So I think we'll see him in the dugout for Chelsea next year.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just crazy how sort of season can literally just turn on their head after winning the title. Obviously going from 3rd to 5th is a very, very big drop. Then we go down to 6th, Arsenal having a very disappointing season. Arsene Wenger still plodding along. He's still there. He's not given up yet.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't won on the road in the whole of 2018.
Haven't won at all. I looked at some of the teams they played against and lost, and I can't remember who they haven't got a point. They're the only team in the EFL to not getting a point from away games this season.
It's crazy. Imagine being a supporter and having to put up with this. It's diabolical, really, isn't it?
It's really, really poor, and it's not something you'd expect. You wouldn't even expect that from a Premier League side, let alone a top 6 team that Arsenal are.
Yeah.
Really, really disappointing. Then we go down to Burnley, who's had a really, really good season.
Yeah, I mean, they started brilliantly, but then they went for a sour patch. And when I say sour patch, I mean an okay patch. It wasn't terrible.
No, it was all right.
They've really put the pressure back on like they were at the beginning of the season. And they've, as you mentioned to me off screen, they've won 5 of their last 5. And they beat Leicester on the weekend to kind of cement their top 7 finish potentially, which is just brilliant for a club where I think their stadium is about a quarter of the population of Burnley, and most of the time it's fairly full.
Yeah, I think because I saw the Burnley were playing Leicester, and I was really interested to see who would win that game, because I thought this game is sort of the battle for 7th. You know, if Leicester win it, they're going to show, you know what, we are a little bit behind, but now we've sort of won that 6-pointer. We're coming for you. They're going to come and they're going to put the pressure on. It'd be really, really interesting. But yeah, like we were saying, Burnley winning 5 of the last 5, the only team in the league who currently have that. So obviously you wouldn't expect that like City and United, but yes, they're really good form. So Leicester having a good season. Obviously they've had the Claude Puel come in and they've signed a couple of players and they've let some players go out as well. Sort of a mixed match season. Sometimes they go through good spells, sometimes through not. But overall, I think they'd be happy and content with an 8th place finish, really.
I mean, I really thought they would make it to the FA Cup final, but I think they were unlucky against Chelsea. And I think if I was a Leicester fan, I'd be thinking, well, you know, this is an okay season. We've probably got a better manager now in charge that is a bit more experienced, because Craig Shakespeare wasn't the most experienced of managers. And we've got a good young team that are still have the foundations of their Premier League winning season. So I think next year, hopefully top 10 again, I would be reckoning for them next season, and probably top 10 this year.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Then we go down to Everton, who have had a disappointing season, obviously starting very, very low in the league under... Oh, I've forgotten his name.
Koeman.
Yeah, Koeman. God, how could I forget? And then they got Sam Allardyce in, obviously to avoid relegation, and they've done more than that now. Yeah, they have. Up in 9th.
I mean, they've still got a wealth of attacking talent in that squad. Sigurdsson, Rooney, Calvert-Lewin, and they've got so many good players. It was a shock to see them so low, especially with such a good manager, or such a good manager. Inverted commas there.
Yeah. Well, do you think
at the time?
Do you think that was obviously that was Allardyce's job, and he's good at that, and he's done that?
Yeah.
Does that mean the end for him? I think it'd be interesting to see what happens. Yeah. Do you know his contract? Do you know how long he's got? I don't know how long he's got, but he's been able to spend a bit of money in January. Obviously, he bought Theo Walcott. Yeah. He brought Cenk to I can't pronounce his last name. Oh, like
the Turkish striker
Tosun.
Cenk Tosun. And he obviously that was a big money signing. I think it was 20 million plus. So he's obviously being allowed to kind of spend. So interesting to see if he does have a longer contract.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of those managers that doesn't normally get a big side, and I would class Everton as a big side.
Same.
So it'd be interesting to see how he does in the future because he's not always managed big sides.
Yeah. Then we go down to 10th, and we've got Rafa Benitez's side, who have always been around the relegation zone and in it for parts of the season, but lately they've sort of stepped up the gas. And I'm looking here, they've won the last 4 games, and before that, that would have left them. So 4 games ago, they would have only had 7 wins in the league, and that makes them only winning more games than the bottom 3 in the relegation zone right now. So those 4 wins have really pushed them up. So So 3, 6, 9, 12. So 12 points. They're on 41.
I think
so so 29 points. So they would have been right down. They would have been 17. So a really good spell of form. And they've been playing. I know I think they beat Huddersfield.
Beat Manchester.
They beat Arsenal lately, which happened. They're doing well, and a really good end to the season, and a strong finish from Benitez, and I can see them potentially investing in the summer and maybe pushing on a little bit to start and aim around that position rather than finishing there.
I mean, they still got Mike Ashley as the chairman and the owner, I think, or at least the owner, and I think he's wanting to sell. So it'll be interesting to see if he does sell it, and if he does sell it, will the next owners be giving money to Benitez? Because I know Benitez has been saying he doesn't have the money and he might leave because of that. I think it's vital for whoever takes the ownership of Newcastle to give Benitez the money and do what he wants, because Newcastle is such a big side that they could have the potential to be in the top 5 in the next few seasons, especially with a manager like Benitez, who has managed the likes of Liverpool, Napoli, and Real Madrid, and has this kind of aura about him that makes players want to play under him. So I think if I was a Newcastle fan, I would want my chairman and my owners to do whatever it takes to keep Benitez in control of Newcastle, because they are almost got a championship squad at the moment, but they're doing brilliant with it.
No, I agree with that. I'm just looking here at their goal difference, -7, which obviously isn't too great, but the teams around them have got -15, -18, -15 again and again. And, obviously they've got a half-decent defensive record here, so... And like you said, with a championship side, they are doing something right, and just finger crossed they can build on this for next season. And like you said, with the new owner or chairman coming in. So 11th place, we've got Bournemouth. So they're on 38 points. Obviously, they're probably safe, being 10 points above Southampton there in sort of average form right now. And they're one of those teams where we were saying earlier, when Swansea have got to play them soon, where... anything can happen when you play them. Sometimes they play really good football, attacking, free-flowing, and then sometimes it just doesn't really work for them.
I think there was a stat somewhere where they most of their last points have been coming from comebacks. Like when they've been 1-0 down, 2-0 down. They just seem to have this energy about them in the last 20 minutes. That means that they just get these late goals that are so vital to them, because if they didn't get these kind of late draws and late wins, they would probably find themselves in a relegation battle. But because they are kind of keeping at it till the 90 minutes is over, they've managed to kind of scrape results.
Yeah, they do sort of grind out and really work hard as a team and put that togetherness. So then we go on to Watford, who have the joint worst form in the league right now of getting 1 point from their past 5 games. But still 9 points off the relegation zone. I
mean, it's not been the greatest start for Javi Gracia, really, has it?
Didn't Watford have a really poor start to the season?
Oh, they had a brilliant start to the season.
They had a really good...
Marco Silva.
That was it. They had a really good start. And then they started to drop form, and it didn't go very well at all.
After Marco Silva was kind of courted by Everton, and it kind of turned his head and turned the players' kind of head, and they went downhill. And Javier Garcia hasn't really changed that. He's got a few... I think he got that win against Chelsea where Gerard Deulofeu got the winner, but other than that, it's kind of been very mediocre, if not relegation form.
It's been a bit average, and I think that really strong start has sort of put them in a position where they don't have to worry about relegation. But it'd be interesting to see what happens in the summer with the manager and players and see what they can change. We go on to 13th. Brighton and Hove Albion.
Obviously, local club to us.
Local club, doing very well in their first season to be in the position they are. 7 points above the relegation zone. I would say they are safe. I think they'd be fine. They could get caught up in it. We were talking about it earlier, and Sam was saying about sort of 12th position Watford. So that is 9 points above the relegation zone.
I still think Brighton and below are still in it, because I think I saw Brighton and Hove Albion's kind of run in, and they've got, I think, Liverpool, Manchester United, Tottenham and Burnley.
That's it, yeah.
And they're all top 7 sides. I don't think they're going to get any points from that. So if they don't get any points, they're going to finish with 35, which still could be a relegated.
No, that is very, very true. But I was looking at some of the other teams lower down the table, and it doesn't seem many of those teams are going to get too many points.
Yeah, agreed.
So I reckon Brighton will be fine, but I do see what you mean about they got this a tough run into the end of the season, and then the same points as them is Huddersfield, another one of those championship sides, so to speak, where they've been grinding out results under a really good manager who's done very, very well for them this season, having a really good season in the Premier League, sort of average form all season.
But kind of keeping their heads above water for
exactly,
most of it.
Doing well. I don't think they've actually been in the relegation. And a really, really good start. Remember, they were third in the league, and everyone thought, wow.
Yeah, could beat Crystal Palace on the opening day, and it was just kind of everything was, they were scoring goals.
It was
and
going
was
nicely
going well.
for them.
Yeah,
it was.
I think it's kind of petered out, but it's still going to be a remarkable season for Huddersfield and Brighton, of course, who have both not been in the Premier League in a long time, and to find themselves kind of mid-table, kind of almost secure the next season, is brilliant for them.
No, very true. I'm just looking here as well. Their goal difference, minus 27, second worst goal difference in the league, only scoring 27 goals this season, which is the joint lowest in the league with Swansea and West Brom. So clearly, when they do win, they don't win by much, but they grind out, they get that result, they get what they need, get the points on board. Then we go a plank below them, we got West Ham, 34 points, so that's only 6 above Southampton. They do have 2 games in hand, to be fair. You've got to take that in consideration. They can obviously get a win or 2. They've had not the best start to the season, not doing very well, but they did bring David Moyes in. He did turn it around, and he has sort of changed it about, bringing in
Petrus Evra,
Arnautovic as well.
I think Arnautovic was there at the start of the season, but he's got the most out of Arnautovic.
Yeah, he's sort of not revolutionised him, but sort of turned the on button on with him, kick-started him, and he's really got going and scored a lot of goals for them this season and done quite well.
There's a funny story about Arnautovic. I think he must have played for Inter when Mourinho was in charge in Serie A, and they won Serie A, but actually he only played 3 games off the bench as a substitute, but he still to this day claims to have won Serie A, and he kind of makes it his thing that he's won Serie A. It's a bit of an odd thing to do, but I guess if you've played 3 substitute appearances in a Serie A winning side, you might as well make the most of it.
Yeah, well, it might have been those classic Mourinho injury time waster sort of substitutions, but still, he's won it, he's got it.
He's gonna shout about it.
Yeah, that's quite funny. Then we go one more place down to Crystal Palace, who's obviously had Roy Hodgson come in partly for the season, starting with bottom of the league when they had 6 out of 6 games they lost, didn't even score a single goal. They are on the same points as West Ham, so 6 points above. They could all well and be relegated still. It's going to be a tight end to the season. Be interesting what they happen.
I mean, it's brilliant they've got themselves into this position, Crystal Palace.
Done very well.
Because Roy Hodgson took charge from, what's his name? Dutch player.
Frank
De Boer.
Of
course, he lost his first 4 games of the season without scoring in their 6 games of the season.
Something like that, yeah.
And I saw one of them, and I think this was the 3rd game in, and we beat them 2-0 at some Selhurst, and all the fans in the ground, including the Crystal Palace fans, were singing "You're getting sacked" in the morning at that point. So
it's not a good start.
Not a good start, but they've kind of got themselves in a position where they could still stay up.
Yeah, and then we move on to 17th. So obviously your team, Sam, Swansea, sitting just above the relegation zone, 5 points ahead of Southampton. You still have Southampton and Stoke to play.
They're going to be massive matches, to be honest.
Big games.
But I think Carlos Carvajal, with his many kind of great press conference comments, can kind of get us out of this ruck, because we were down and buried before he came. I really was kind of thinking we're not going to stay up, but he's just galvanised us. I reckon we probably have one of the best forms in the Premier League since Christmas. I reckon we'll be in the top 10. And I think with the draw against Everton, that's a great point. And I think if he can just tide us over with not losing against Southampton and Stoke, we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think if you definitely get a draw against those, you will be safe. And we were saying about who we think are going to go down, and I think it will be the three who are in there now. Looking at the fix, because we were talking about Southampton, they've got quite a tough run in. They've got some big teams to play. They're obviously sitting in 29 points, so 5 points away. They've only got one in their last 5 games, 1 point, sorry, in the last 5, losing their last 4. To be fair, 2 of them, I would say, Mark Hughes has sort of turned, I think, looking from an outsider, he turned their sort of style around in the way that when they were played against, it was Chelsea and it was Arsenal they've had in the last 2 games. And they've lost both of them 3-2, and I think maybe both of them winning 2-0. And they've been playing good football. They've just been a bit unlucky with some of the goals. Some of the goals have just been, good skill from the other team. Maybe like a simple thing, not closing him down, a bit of defensive work to be done. I've seen that Fraser Forster has been dropped. They brought in McCartney to play, who I think he used to be Cardiff's keeper, possibly. I can't quite remember, but they've been playing better. Only 5 wins in the league all season, but I think they are down and dusted. We go down to Stoke now in 19th, 1 point below Southampton and 1 place below Southampton. I think they are almost done and dusted as well. But even with Paul Lambert now in charge, I don't think we've really seen much change. And when this happened, we did talk about it, because we talked a lot about Mark Hughes being sacked, now being appointed at Southampton. And I think, certainly me, I don't think it was the best appointment for Stoke really to make. I don't think they're going to get anywhere this season. No. They've got minus 33 goal difference, which isn't great. And I know I don't want to sort of blame it all on Jack Butland, but obviously you've got a part to play and it's a defence of the whole. But I think that can possibly affect his chance of getting the England number 1 in a way as well.
I see what you mean there. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if Stoke do get relegated, where the likes of Butland will play their trade next season.
Could he go to another club?
Could he get
potentially?
A top 4 team? Could he already just kind of get any Premier League?
I think he will. I think if they do get relegated, which I think they will, I think he'll be sold. Looking at some of the teams we could be sold to, I could see him at possibly Watford.
West Ham.
West Ham would be quite a good move for him. Don't know what happened with Adrian and Joe Hart. Like Joe Hart, could he move again? Would
Arsenal maybe as well.
See, you never know, really.
Yeah, you never know where he could go. But I think Stoke are dead and buried. I mean, you only have to listen to what Shaqiri was saying the other day, that basically he said, there's nothing I can do. The players around me, they're shocking, really. I think, I mean, for a player to say that about his own teammates is crazy.
It's
and
not
it just
good.
shows that they're probably just dead and buried.
And it also shows that possibly he might go.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see where he goes, because he's amazing on his day.
He is a very good player.
I would love to have someone like Shaqiri in our team. I mean, we do. We have Ayew and the Ayew brothers, but to have Shaqiri, that would be brilliant.
It would be good. And then, obviously, in 20th place, the taxi-stealing team in Barcelona of West Bromwich Albion. 34 games played, so that's more than the 3 teams above them, which they need to overtake. They are 9 points off Swansea, and I think they are dead and buried. Even though they did beat Manchester United, I think it's all over for them. Not great goal difference of minus 25. That's 3rd worst in the league. Only 4 wins. That is the worst in the league. Just overall a poor season with Pardew coming in. Well, we are starting with Pulis. I think they weren't bottom of the league when Pulis came in.
Sacking Pulis maybe too soon.
I think that would be a fair statement to make. I think Pulis would have grinded them through, but That's just my opinion on that. And then Pardew coming in, I don't think it was a great signing, and it really didn't work out. And instantly he's been sacked already. But did he get sacked in between?
Yes,
just after that. So since the caretakers come in, they've got a draw and a win, which is a change. But I think they are down and out. So that sort of rounds up our sort of Premier League table roundup, a big roundup. Yes. But it was deserved. So Champions League.
Roma. I know, I do this all the time whenever we talk about Roma, which we talk about Roma a lot, surprisingly.
We do,
and I've got my Roma top on today, actually, underneath my Romanian tracksuit.
Controversial selection together.
Yep. Well, of course, Roma beat Barcelona at the Stadio Olimpico 3-0. And what a game it was. If you did not watch this or you didn't have the chance to watch it, go look at the highlights, because it was one of the most famous nights, I reckon, in European football history in the modern era now, I think. It was amazing to watch. I tuned in at 2-0 when I saw the score and I thought, I cannot not watch this. And I watched it with my dad, because even my dad stayed up to watch this. And it was one of the greatest nights, I think, of football for me.
It did look very good, and I remember seeing the scores coming in and thinking, I was like, how many goals have they got to score? They got to win 3-0 to win. It was 1-0, and then it was 2-0, and I was like, okay, maybe they can do this. And then 3-0, and I thought, this reminds me of the Barcelona PSG last season, and it sort of happened to Barcelona this season, and it was crazy. It turned it around, and there you go, Roma win on away goals, and they're through to the semi-final. We got other big team, 2 English teams playing against each other, City and Liverpool, after the first leg, which was not very good for Manchester City, which is the 3-0 win for Liverpool at home. And I think after that leg, it looked like it could be over. But City did score within 2 minutes. Gabriel Jesus getting the goal, and I thought, okay, hold it a second, maybe they could do one of the comebacks that we seem to be seeing all over the place from Champions League teams, but it didn't end out that well, and they ended up losing 2-1 to Liverpool. Salah got a goal for sure.
Unstoppable Salah.
Very, very good this season. I can't remember if we talked about it before, but
yes, Salah.
Salah or De Bruyne?
Oh, we haven't talked about that yet. That might have to be a topic for next week.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to talk about. That'd be a good topic. So yeah, Liverpool move on, and then if we do look into the final, that means that Liverpool and Roma will be playing at each other. What is your prediction for that?
My prediction for that is going to be a very, very good game.
I think it will.
It'll be an amazing game, and I'll be definitely watching it all the way through. I mean, the English side of me wants Liverpool to win, because they've been brilliant this season. I love Klopp and I love the way that they play. But because I've been to see Roma before, and they kind of, I look out for them a lot, and they're almost my second team. I hate the term second team, but they are one of my teams I'm passionate about. So whoever wins, I'll be happy, I think. Really.
Yeah, no, I think Liverpool will win it. I think it'd be great to see like a 3-2 Liverpool sort of comeback sort of thing. That'd be awesome to see.
I wish it was the final, to be honest.
It would be a really good final. We were saying about earlier. It would be a really good, get 2 like really passionate, flowing teams. Really, really nice to watch. And obviously the other semi-final, Real Madrid versus Bayern Munich. Real Madrid have been good all the way. I mean, Ronaldo scored
every single game. It's
very,
crazy.
very good goals he's scoring, and that sort of brings us on. We're running out of time a little bit. We can just touch on the sort of Buffon incident. So, for those of you who don't know, there's a penalty awarded to Real Madrid in the last minute. Added on time, and that gave them the goal to put them through. Were Juventus going to go through, or would it gone to extra time anyway?
It would have gone to extra time.
And Real Madrid got the penalty awarded to them, and Buffon went straight up to the referee. I think aggressively is the term we're going to use for that.
And the referee was pushing, Michael Oliver.
Pushing and shouting him.
And lots of players around him, and he Buffon kind of, as you said, pushed him a bit. I don't know if it was intentional, but he still made contact, and he was shouting in his face, and Mike Oliver ended up sending him off. And what he said in the media afterwards, as Buffon, was a bit of a disgrace, wasn't it, Jay?
Yeah, it wasn't good. We were saying So when this incident happened, we typically hear players going like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't quite mean these actions. It doesn't represent who I truly am." But Buffon did the opposite. I don't think he said sorry at all. He was saying that the referee had a heart of rubbish or something.
Yeah,
and
heart of
he
rubbish.
should be sitting in the stands with his family, eating chips if he doesn't know how to sort of make decisions, suggesting things about him being too young and not very good referee right now.
I mean, even saying to the extent that, oh, he should have basically not given the penalty and not sent me off. Because
he could have his heart.
Because he Juventus and Buffon getting to the final would be the nice thing to happen, which is not a referee's job. If the referee decided what was nice to happen, I don't think anyone would watch football, really.
No, completely true. And it's sort of wanted his fairy tale getting to the final of his last Champions League appearance he wanted. But obviously that did not happen. And
I think he's disgraced himself a bit, because I was a big fan on Gigi Buffon. But
same.
I think, of course, he's still a legend, and I think he hopefully will apologise at some point, but it's kind of tainted his reputation. A bit like Zidane headbutting someone in the World Cup when France lost.
Maserati.
Yeah. So I think with Real Madrid beating Juventus, I think they've got to be favourites, Real Madrid, I think.
Yeah, I think going into that final
against
if they beat Bayern and go into that final, I think they will come out on top for sure. If we just have a quick look onto the Europa League
very quickly.
Arsenal versus Atletico Madrid. I can't see Arsenal really winning that just because how good Atletico Madrid are.
Yeah.
You know, with their strikers of Costa and Griezmann and Torres, and just
brilliant, really.
Really, really good side. Marseille versus FC Red Bull Salzburg would be...
It's a bit of an odd match, really, because both teams probably weren't really that favourites for the
competition. No, I don't like... One of them's going to get to the final, and people are going to be like,
I mean,
really?
Marseille, they've got just Gustavo, they've got Payet, and Toivonen, and I can't remember his name, but there's lots of good players in Marseille, and they're managed by Rudi Garcia, and I think they're a good side in France, but they weren't really expected to go far in this competition.
No, not at all.
Same with Red Bull Salzburg. I mean, I haven't heard of them do well in Europe at all, really.
No.
They beat Dortmund and they beat Lazio, who've both had okay domestic seasons. So it'd be interesting to see which one of those can get to the final, and the final itself should be a good final, no matter which team it is. Anyways.
Yes, I think we can wrap that long episode in a way up. But I think that sort of wraps up. We've summed up everything that's happened. Obviously, apologies again for not getting an episode out. But we've had a big jam-packed one. It's been good. It's been
hopefully
detailed.
Hopefully it makes up for it. So, yeah.
It's football. What can you not love?
Yeah, come on. What else do you want from us?
Yeah.
Of course, thank you for listening to this week's podcast. If you would like to get in contact with us or get involved in any polls on Twitter, you can do so via Twitter, which is @boxcommentary, or you can email us at thecommentarybox.contact@gmail.com. Of course, thank you for listening, as I said again. We've been The Commentary Box. I've been Sam.
I've been Jay. It's been good. Keep out for our polls on Twitter, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, have a good footballing weekend.
Indeed.